All right, let's go, because you know what I came in to do.
I don't get paid for overtime. I'm here to fight.
So there's only 14 pounds between Inoue's first weight class being a world champion at junior flyweight and 122, where he's become the unified champion at super bantam. And I do believe that is an issue with the lower weights. There's too much weight classes concentrated in between 17 pounds from minimum weight to super bantam. So what I'm basically saying is back in the day, there was no junior flyweight where he won his first title, so he would have had to either start at flyweight or bantam. At this stage of his career, more than likely be a 2-weight champion rather than a 4-weight champion when there was 8 weight classes. But nevertheless, he did not create the circumstances where we have 18 weight classes right now, because I'm going to include Bridgerweight. So he's doing what he has to do. And there's a lot of boxing fans that are a little salty that Fulton got the brakes beat off him in Japan and lost his unified titles. And they're not satisfied that Inoue has accomplished a lot in his career. And it's a bit of a horrible trend what fanboys do. They kind of pretend that they didn't have a huge stake in the fight after their fighter lost. If Fulton had won, the PBC fans and the Fulton fans, they would have been pushing for Fulton to be a top 5 pound for pound fighter on the strength that he beat a free-weight champion as he was at that time. Well, it works both ways. If Inoue comes up from bantam and beats the slick, I'm not going to say American boxer, the unified champion, well, what does he get? You just want to dismiss it as, we don't acknowledge his greatness. Nah, that's wrong. If Fulton had won, I wonder if Stephen Espinoza would be pushing for a Fulton Gervonta Davis fight. Ridiculous. And to me, demanding that he fights Tank, not demanding, but even the suggestion of talking about a Tank fight so close to his epic victory is a subliminal shot at his greatness. Like, he hasn't done enough. He has to go up to 135 to fight Tank. Like there isn't no challenges at super bantamweight. Like there ain't no challenges at feather. Like there ain't no challenges at super feather. He has to jump up 3 weight classes, yet we can't ask Tank, if you're going to go up to 140, okay, fight Barrios, then fight Josh Taylor after. And if you're going to claim that you're the face of boxing, how come you haven't fought Lomachenko, Haney, Tio at 135? Now, anyone who says, well, he fought Ryan Garcia, Ryan was always the weakest link out of them guys there on accomplishments and resume and talent. Let's keep it real. And even then, a hydration clause was imposed on him. Every fighter has a few asterisks, no matter how good they are. I didn't like Inoue's super flyweight campaign at all. And to me, that was one of the best weight classes. Rungvisai, Chocolatito, Estrada, Cuadras, they all fought each other. And it was a very competitive division. And this guy never got in the mix. Let's say from 2014-15 to 2017-2018, he didn't get in the mix. And that's a red flag. As far as I'm concerned, I know a lot of his fans are going to say, oh, well, beats this and that. No, it's a red flag. But nevertheless, WBSS champion, undisputed champion at bantamweight, 4-weight world champion. Hey, it is what it is. I'm a Floyd Mayweather fan. He has asterisks on his resume too. It is what it is. But Inoue, in terms of challenges and challenging himself, is years above Tank Davis. Years above the so-called face of boxing. Stephen Espinoza talking about it's only 13 pounds between him and Tank. A bold bit of clout chasing, really, trying to put the wheels in motion for that fight, when Tank should be looking to do something more significant than fight Chris Colbert in his next fight, for one. And Stephen and the rest of the PBC fans would probably expect Inoue to come in at 135, although Tank had to put a rehydration clause on Ryan. And it's not like he can offset that by saying, okay, here's some more legit victories. You keep talking about that, what about these victories? He doesn't have them. We have to keep going back to this Pedraza knockout years back. And Tank's went into other weight classes or been in other weight classes where there's been undisputed champions and carried around baby belts. But you don't demand anything from Tank. But you want to demand from Inoue? It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Tank manipulates so much shit in his weight classes, done so much fake shit. Like, what was behind the WBA just giving Tank that title for beating Cuellar, the WBA super featherweight title, when Machado had beat Jezreel Corrales, and Corrales had beat the Japanese guy who was a long-standing champion. But that was just pure corruption. And yeah, okay, 1.2 million pay-per-view buys. He is one of the faces of boxing, I said that. But what's the incentive for Inoue to jump straight up to 135? 3 weight classes. That's crazy. And Tank, who would probably demand a fight at 135, they probably wouldn't even come down 130 to make a compromise to make the fight. That's the fucked up thing. But they expect other fighters to take chances. And more importantly, whether you don't think he's achieved enough, he has genuine accomplishments, undisputed, 4-weight champion, no baby belts, World Boxing Super Series, but he does have asterisks. Just not as much as Tank. You know the fucked up thing is if Inoue said, yeah, okay, I'll move up to lightweight and fight Tank. The pro-Tank fans and pro-Tank media, you know, the paranoia would just be Glovegate allegations, PED allegations. Oh, this ain't fair, that ain't fair. Getting a big hissy fit. Demanding a bunch of A-side privileges rather than just put the fight on. And Leonard Ellerby, out of his own mouth, said, you don't have to be the best boxer, you've got to be the most popular, you've got to be paid, paraphrasing what he said. He mentioned a lot of other criteria than actually fighting the best competition. That was out of his own mouth, right? And look, against Jason Maloney and names like that, Inoue's clearing over $1 million in Japan. Over $1.5 million, selling out arenas. No doubt, he got a huge purse for this fight too. Fulton was clearing, what was it, 500,000 in recent fights. Inoue making some good money for a lower weight guy. Why would he, of all people, have to go rush into Tank? Yeah, and it's obviously a dangerous fight, jumping up 3 weights to jump into Tank without even having a feel-out fight at the weight class. Why would you ask for that fight right now? When you'd be up in arms if a demand was made like that against Tank, if it was in reverse. Come on, man, stop it. You know, the uneven standards they set for their fighters and fighters outside the PBC is ridiculous. Oh, he's got to become a 7-weight champion to impress us. Please, let's stop with it now.
ESPN announcers are the worst. It's clear wherever they at and whoever's the favorite, that's who they going for. You know what I'm saying? They're in Japan, so they was going for the Japan dude from the jump. Tim Bradley's the worst. I mean, besides beating Pacquiao, who did he beat? And he didn't beat Pacquiao that night. 2, cool boy, I commend you, bro. You got beat by a better fighter. He's stronger. He's not a great boxer. He's just strong as hell. And, you know, I commend you for going.
Who's Tim Bradley beat? Now, from my barometer of boxing knowledge, if you can't tell me some of the significant names who Bradley beat from when he beat Junior Witter, 2008 in Witter's hometown of Nottingham, floored Junior Witter, and nobody knew about him. I saw the fight. If you can't tell me his record from there, 2-weight champion, then you're not in a position to question his resume. You don't sound like a knowledgeable boxing person. And it seems like, alongside young Tharrow, Steven Jackson is going to be in the frame talking about boxing. And he obviously has no clue or knowledge base on the topic. And then said, oh, they're only hyping him up because he's Japanese. Yo.
When everyone wear them 8-ounce gloves, everyone has power. I feel like the hype is around amongst him because he's a Japanese person doing these things. Power don't just win fights. My skill, my mindset, my speed, my slickness. I feel like you can't speak on power when everyone wear them 8-ounce gloves, everyone has power.
You feel like the hype is created about him because he's Japanese. Well, you know now, Stefan, that that's not true. You know now. Look, I'm making this video in the knowledge that some of the people who are going to be supporting this video because it's, I suppose, in favor of Inoue, are going to be the same ones trying to tear me down when I come receipt-based on something that might not be in his favor or in another boxer's favor who they're fanboying over. And I'll have to tear them a new one. With receipts, of course. You know how I do. Receipts. Waheed Rahim oversaw the taping. The taping was actually videoed on Top Rank, and we saw it. That was overseen. There was no double stacking. VADA testing was implemented. You can't accuse Inoue of taking anything. And Stefan lost the fight. And it's got nothing to do with Inoue's race or Stefan's race. He lost the fight. The fucked up thing, though, is a lot of Stefan's fans and the PBC boxer fans, they're going to expect the Japanese people to keep their dignity while you throw shit on their boxer who's doing good things. It's not like they've had a plethora of great champions like African Americans. We can go back to fucking Joe Gans, Jack Johnson, Tiger Flowers, Gorilla Jones, Joe Louis, Henry Armstrong, Sandy Sadler. And you can go on all day. You've had the most successful professionals in the history out of any other. And there you are bitching and moaning because there's one exceptional Japanese guy. Let me slow up. One of my favorite Japanese fighters is fighting Harada. Stefan's been threatened by Inoue for a long time, yeah? About 9 or 10 months ago, he said, if you take away that power, would you still consider Inoue as good? I mean, okay. If we take away your footwork, will you be as good? Would you have been able to be unified champion? You see, this is when bias comes out. You sound ridiculous. You sound ridiculous. And when I read that article at the time it came out, I was thinking, well, what the fuck is that? What remains good if you take the good components away from it? You take the yeast out of the bread and see if it tastes the same. Probably not, Stefan. Probably not. Don't worry. You're going to need beats when the extreme Inoue fans start going over the top and ranking him up there with some of the greater fighters who are greater than him. He just doesn't have the numbers. Like, after he won, I heard somebody saying, he would have done the same to Floyd at Super Feather. See, that's when you're going over the top. And these fans will have to be checked as well. The biased PBC fans, they didn't want to acknowledge, Inoue. I always struggle with his first name. I want to say his first, I always struggle with it. They didn't want to acknowledge Inoue when he won the World Boxing Super Series in a classic final against Nonito Donaire. Now, let me tell you something. A little information for those who don't know. Nonito Donaire is one of the best punchers in the history of the sport at the lower weights. You might not be able to bookmark that because you don't know, but he's one of the best punchers at the lower weights in the history of the sport. And he's as tough as nails. A lot of people said Inoue was overrated because it went the distance and, yeah, he knotted up Inoue's eye, fractured the orbital bone. But Nonito Donaire's not a joke. And I remember them throwing shade on his accomplishment when none of their boxers, except Andrew Tabiti, would compete in that World Boxing Super Series. None of the PBC fighters, or the top-ranked fighters for that matter, would compete. And when Tabiti went in that cruiserweight tournament in the WBSS, then you found out the WBSS tournament ain't no effing joke. And you saw what the winner of the bantamweight tournament was about when he destroyed Fulton. Great boxers come from all region of the world. All region of the world. And you can support your guy, but tearing down the winner who wins legitimately, and you know that ain't right. Steve Kim sums it up, replying to Stefan Espinoza. You never know, it sounds crazy. Gervonta Davis versus Naoya Inoue. Only 13 pounds or more. Steve Kim replied, you know it sounds crazy, but the winner of Spence Crawford should face Tank. It's only 12 pounds.
So what about this one was a bit unexpected.
It wasn't for me.
I know it weren't for you. You know what I mean? You got the inside scoop. So,
No, it was out on Twitter. It was tweeted a few weeks ago.
Oh, it was?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It wasn't a surprise because somebody it said rumoured fight. I like it a lot, you know.
I like the fight, man. I like the fight. But let's keep it real, though. Let's be honest, right?
Yeah, come on then.
We're talking Olympic bronze medalists, yeah?
Yeah.
It's considerably bigger. Dave's only got a 75-inch reach. Frazer should be beating Dave Allen.
Well, obviously that's what they put him in there for, but they've also put him in there to ensure that there's some sort of challenge. Because let's face it, ever since Frazer Clarke's turned professional, he's been absolutely ridiculed and slated by the public with the opponents. And then obviously the British title debacle didn't help either.
Brits, including myself, thought this was a passable fight for Frazer Clarke. But after watching Blue Collar's video on it and the amount of disappointments Dave Allen reeled off with some of his performances on Matchroom, Like, the last 4 opponents he's beat since David Price, I think all of them have had losing records, or at least 3 of them. And when you consider that they scuppered a purse bid to fight Fabio Wardley for the British title, all because they didn't want the fight to be on Matchroom or the Zone. Then Frazer fights Marius Wack, and his stock, if you like, doesn't exactly rise in that performance. He did win, though. He did win. And now we have Dave Allen. You're basically taking on somebody who the British Boxing Board of Control wouldn't approve to fight Fabio Wardley, and this is your opponent. So Frazer, to salvage something from this fight, he could really do with doing a clean, comprehensive job. Labouring and struggling with Dave Allen. It's not a great look, and more importantly, it won't do Frazer's confidence much good, will it? Conor Benn got his license back, as you know by now. A lot of people are saying Chris Eubank will be gutted. He's missed out on the opportunity to earn an absolute fortune. Well, I don't think they were going to clear Conor if they knew he was going to go straight into a fight with Eubank. I've got no receipts, just a hunch and a feeling that there's people who don't want to see that fight happen. But if Eubank beats Liam Smith, and if Conor comes back with a win or 2, you know what's next. Contrary to what you might have heard, UKAD are very unlikely to appeal the decision to clear Conor Benn. The only way that will happen is some development in the upcoming days or weeks. It would have to be an extraordinary development for that to happen. Anyone telling you they are likely to appeal the decision, it's not true. They're just trying to feed the bloodlust for those who want to see Conor Benn stuck on the sidelines and never get in a British boxing ring again. The right for UKAD to appeal a decision is just standard in every case that UKAD cleared. Conor Benn is not an exception. It's just a standard clause that is rarely used. The British Boxing Board of Control refers to the statement published in response by UKAD as statement from UK Anti-Doping on Conor Benn via the tests UK Anti-Doping UKAD.org.uk. Just a whole lot of legislation jargon there. Unless Conor all of a sudden can't pass medicals, we'll get a British license. I don't know what's up with Devin. You know, like, he's informed, according to Michael Benson, the WBC, that he's going to move up and challenge Regis Prograis. So he gets the opportunity to be a champion at 2 weights. So he's not going to defend against Shakur. However, he's requested to retain his WBC belt. Why would he do that? Like, let Shaq fight for the vacant title, Lomachenko and whoever else wants to challenge for it, and stop screwing around with 135. They did allow Floyd to hold 147 and 154 pound titles simultaneously, the WBC, and the WBA did as well. I like the Prograis fight. A lot of people say that he's ducking Devin to take on Prograis, and they could have a point, but it's a legitimate duck if there ever was such a thing, by taking on Prograis to be a 2-weight champion. Not so much a prediction, but an early observation. Devin didn't show much power at 135, and he and his old man may rationalize that. Him straining at the weight has took a lot of the power away, and when he moves up to 140, we might see some more pop. If that doesn't materialize at the higher poundage, surrounded by harder punches like Prograis, he could struggle at 140, where you may need something, a little something to keep them off you. In some of his fights, like against Linares, you could see he was trying to force his way through to try and get a stoppage, and he nearly got himself in some sticky waters. If the power travels up, it travels up. What I would, maybe not what I would do, but maybe my thoughts would be not to try to turn him into a puncher so much at 140, but just enjoy not having the constraints to take off that 5 pounds to make 135, and use the energy to bring out the best in Devin, his boxing, his movement, his jab. And maybe the more he ages, he's still very young. Let's not forget, he's only 24 years of age. Maybe the more he fills out, he might see his power increase. I'm not sure if it's something you can force, though. Looks like it's going to a purse bid. I don't know what the splits are between mandatory challenger and champion, but Riakporhe will get significantly less than Jai Opetaia. So unless Sky puts in a ridiculous bid that is probably way over what the value of the fight is, the fight goes to Matchroom. I wouldn't let it go to purse bids. I think Richard will be well compensated if he goes over to Australia. It's going to be a big card. They're saying one of the biggest or finest boxing cards ever assembled and presented on Australian shores. Opetaia and Riakporhe will be headlining. You'll have Justice Haney. I believe he'll be getting a significant opponent in there. And it'll be a big party in Australia, and why not? Eddie has snookered Ben Shalom on this one by signing Opetaia. Now, if either Ben or Richard decline this opportunity, it's not a great look. You know, you've got Boatsy turning down a title shot with Bivol and Dan Aziz, and now what, you're all just going to turn down opportunities to help Ben do what? Not put cards on DAZN? This doesn't make sense. Coley is planning to enforce his rematch clause against Billiam Smith, so that could close off any opportunities of making a Riakporhe Billiam Smith rematch as an alternative for not taking the opportunity to take on Jai Opetaia, who deserves to have the fight in Australia. He has beat Marius Bradis. That's a bigger win than anything Richard has on his resume. He's the champion. He's got the big backer behind him. I don't see what the problem is. I understand the anticipation is building. You watch Crawford and the Errol Spence fan who got a little animated, didn't he? Them going back and forth. Bo Mack and Derek James throwing insults and obscenities at each other. Then you've got the Charlo's wives fighting and Caleb slapping the crap out of Jamal. And it's kind of building up the anticipation. The event is getting very, I can't take my eyes off it because I don't know what's going to happen next. But I've been watching some American channels, specifically Black American, and they're talking about how it's getting very ratchet. That's not the word they use. They use a stronger word. I'm not going to use it right now. Very ratchet. And they were saying they wouldn't be surprised if gunshots were discharged and fights in the crowd. They wouldn't be shocked at all. And it's got the internet going crazy. And I know we think, you know, well, all publicity, good publicity. And I don't want to kind of spoil the fun. I don't want to be, oh, you look, the British guy's acting outraged, because I'm not really outraged. I'm thinking about the future of the sport. I'm excited by the extracurricular shit just as much as you guys. What American boxing doesn't want to do is miss a trick here and miss a golden opportunity. Think not of the current event, but the knock-on effect for the young fighters coming up. If gunshots do go off and there are bad fights in the crowd, like I remember when Andrew Galotta hit Riddick Bowe in a nutsack too many times and the riot broke out. Lucky there wasn't social media around them days. It wouldn't have been good for boxing. And Showtime will bail out. Make no mistake about that. We might think, oh man, that was exciting. Why would they bail out? No, they'll bail out because the advertisers and the sponsorships will bail out, and then they'll be off as well. There's great opportunities here. You've got Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield in town. Thomas Hearns was there. This is a great opportunity to commemorate American boxing for the great stuff. I think I've done a very good video documenting how we got to the 4-belt era. It's nearly a couple of decades since Zab Judah was the undisputed welterweight champion. And now we're going to get a 4-belt undisputed champion crowned tonight. It should be a monumentous event, not marred by thuggery. The sad thing is like, what example are the Charlos and Caleb Plant setting? You know, I understand people want one fighter to win over the other, but if you purchase the ticket, there should be enough at the event to keep you occupied outside the extracurricular nonsense, which is car crash TV, voyeuristic, titillating, etc. I get it. And I've watched as much as you have too, and laughed along with you as well. I think Terence Crawford said it the best.
My family, Errol family, man, you gotta calm down, brother. Cause listen, man, things can get real sticky real quick, and then everybody would say, this is what we do every time we come out. This is what we do when we come out. Social media, my ass. Bro, listen, just like you talking, just like you doing all that talking, bro, it can turn deadly real quick. But on both sides, so why not support, listen, why not support your fighter? Support your fighter. You ain't got nothing wrong with that. Support your fighter. Y'all support y'all fighter. Let's come together, make this event a success instead of everybody saying every time we get together, you know what I mean, it's always shooting and violence. That's what I want. Y'all can say whatever y'all want, but I'm probably older than you and been through way more than you. So, you know what I mean, I'm more mature. But, you know what I mean, I wish Errol and his people's the best. You know what I mean? What? Oh, shit. Hey, everybody know Team Crawford. Y'all know I get active. Let's go.